Despite what many people might tell you, wrestling all comes down to the finish. You can have months and months of careful storytelling, or 1 week in a backstage segment that only appears online if you're the bloody WWE, but if the finish to the actual match is a screwy one, then you're likely to leave fans fuming for years to come. And we can all think back to moments where either a botch or a dud finish is the talking point of the entire arc, such as the Booker T Triple H ending, or the I Did It for the Rock blow-off, and arguably the end of the Summer of Punk entirely. But here's the thing, those endings were stinky and ended up making people mad. But what about endings that were completely out there that actually managed to work? Well, that's the subject of today's list, so let's get to it. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 controversial WWE finishes that actually worked. Number 8, the Montreal Screwjob, Take 2. Survivor Series 1998 is one of those Marmite shows that wrestling fans either love or hate. The actual bell-to-bell wrestling was pretty poor, and the Russo-rific booking was front and center, and as an isolated show, it really doesn't stand up. However, there is one moment that on paper should not have worked because it's a terrible angle that the WWE have tried to pull again and again, but here, well, for some reason, it actually did its job. I'm speaking, of course, about every time the company has tried to rehash the Montreal Screwjob, and the reason that it actually worked well here, despite being in awful taste in principle, is because in 1998, it wasn't an angle that was done to death at this point. The setup was also similar in that it was the anniversary of the incident, and Vince wanted a new champion by hook or by crook. Therefore, we got the scene of Vince ringing the bell on Mankind as The Rock had him in a sharpshooter, despite the fact that Foley hadn't tapped and was edging towards the ropes. Vince had screwed him, and The Rock was now the corporate champion. It was in terrible form from a wrestling perspective, but when the penny dropped for the fans, they were absolutely livid, which is exactly what Vince wanted. An utter bastard, but a brilliant heel move. Number 7, Night of Champions 2012. CM Punk vs. John Cena, while not exactly this generation's Austin vs. Rock, held brilliant potential and did lead to some pretty fine matches along the way. With Punk's firebrand style of commentary and John Cena's reluctance to realize that he was pretty much the bad guy in this,
Are you sure about that?
it was a beautiful look behind the curtains as they both aired real-life frustrations on each other. Plus, that Money in the Bank match in 2011, absolute bliss. In fact, it was a feud that many didn't actually want to end, and therefore, in order to inject some heat back into things and keep things trundling along, we got this rather odd finish from Night of Champions 2012, which ended in a draw. Not a double countout or anything like that, but a double pin thanks to Cena not being able to bridge a German suplex from the second rope, meaning that things officially ended in a tie. At the time, fans couldn't quite believe it, but trust me, the match plus the feud that followed was given new life by all of this vitriol of not getting a clean ending, even if the follow-up with massive balloon animal Ryback wasn't as good a contest of skill. Number 6, That's Not Sting. This was the cry that was heard around the arena when Sid Vicious took a break from using half the brain that you do and became world champion in WCW for the briefest of moments at Halloween Havoc 1990. Here, Sting and Sid brawled backstage at around the 10-minute mark of their match, and then, air quotes, Sting chased him back to the ring a short time later. However, fans immediately knew something was up, as this was a slightly taller, less in-shape Sting, and after a weak as piss scoop slam saw Sid fall on top of the imposter and pick up the win, everyone knew what was up. The fans were furious and were left screaming to the ref for being so incompetent. And if it had just ended with this trick that was orchestrated by the Four Horsemen, it may have well added itself to the rank and file that make up WCW booking blunders. But thanks to the real Sting re-emerging, we got a feel-good ending that we didn't even know we wanted. Sting decked Sid with the belt, gave him a Stinger splash, and then cradled him to reclaim his title. It was a dusty finish that could have burned the promotion to the ground at that point, but thanks to the correct timing, became a talking point for all the right reasons. Number 5, the original Twin Magic. We've been seeing the old Twin Magic routine for years now, first with the Basham brothers and with the Bellas. It's a good gimmick and usually provokes a reaction, but it's hard to deny that it is getting a little tired. And the only reason that it's reached such parody levels is because the WWF struck gold when they used Kurt Angle's real-life twin brother to help him score a win over The Undertaker at Survivor Series 2000. Now, to be clear, this wasn't a great match. Undertaker wasn't at 100% health-wise, and Angle was still in his rookie year in the business, but at least the finish got people talking. After receiving a right pasting, our desperate Olympic hero sought sanctuary under the ring. Undertaker dragged him back out naturally and delivered a spine-jarring last ride. Now, for many in attendance and watching at home, they probably thought that this was time to tune out and celebrate the dead man's assured victory. Well, as Earl Hebner pointed out, that's not actually Kurt, mate. And after all, Earl Hebner knows a thing about about twins. This opening gave Kurt enough time to sneak in and roll him up for the Duke. You see, that was his twin brother Eric, you beautiful man, who definitely took one for the team and managed to further Angle's cowardly heel persona more than ever. Number 4, perfectly timed double winners. It's taken for granted, but it is so hard for talent to choreograph some of the moves and segments that we see on wrestling promotions. I mean, from complex twisting moves to well-timed spots, everything has to be in place and everyone has to know their cues. Therefore, it was particularly eyebrow-raising when the WWE booked 2 of these pinpoint moments on the same episode of Raw in November 2004. Here, Benoit and Edge's feet both hit the floor at the exact same time in a battle royal to determine who would be involved in the night's main event with Triple H, and then in the main event itself, we got another screwy moment that put the audience on edge. Here, with Triple H being taken out by a Randy Orton chair shot, it was down to Edge and the Rabid Wolverine to finish. And this saw Edge locked in the crippler crossface roll up Benoit for the 1-2-3 at the exact same time that he tapped out. Of course, the 2 refs that were in the ring at the time disagreed over who the winner was, and Raw ended on a cliffhanger. It was a great end to the show and really made you want to tune in next week to see how it all played out. Unfortunately, the whole thing just led to an Elimination Chamber at New Year's Revolution 2005 where Triple H reclaimed the title, so he never really lost the title and then won it back anyway. Still, the finish to this November 29th Raw was top stuff. Number 3, lying, cheating, and yes, stealing. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That was Eddie Guerrero's inspirational mantra during his wonderful run between early 2003 and his untimely death in November 2005. Across this time and well before this, Eddie had racked up an insane amount of career highlights, and with this cheating gimmick in place, fans tuned in weekly to see which inventive ways he'd get the one-up on his opponents. Basically, he became a controversy machine because he'd throw chairs and other instruments into the hands of his opponents and then feign injury and point at the ref so many times that his matches actually rarely ended decisively. It was a brilliant heel move that traded on a factor that audiences should, in all honesty, actually hate. After all, we want to be told a story with a definitive end. However, Eddie was giving us the opposite, and we were thanking him for it. Number 2, the incredible title change that never was. What a wonderful piece of business this was. Jericho and Triple H opened the April 17th, 2000 Raw with a great WWF title match before a white-hot crowd. It was originally non-title, but Y2J had goaded the game into putting the belt on the line. Triple H, being that damn good and a cerebral assassin, etc., 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 took the bait, which was a huge mistake. Towards the end of the match, the ref got bumped and Earl Hebner came down to take over officiating duties. Triple H was not happy with this and shoved Hebner down, providing enough distraction to allow Jericho to nail him with a spinning heel kick and a lion salt. Coming to his senses, Hebner counted a very quick 1-2-3 as Jericho became the new WWF champion for all of 10 minutes. After the commercial break, Triple H ordered that Earl reverse the decision, which he did. Classic move there, Paul. Thus, Jericho's first WWF title win was voided. Still, the finish was great and resulted in one of the loudest pops caught on TV, tying place with the noise that your mother made when we finally got the marrow out of her back door. She tried taming the lion and got a bit of the trouble, if you know what I'm saying. That's my 1 per list. And number 1, I'm seeing double. 4 Hebners. As I said before, Earl Hebner is quite accustomed to twin shenanigans because he pretty much instigated the angle thanks to his real-life twin, Dave Hebner. Now here's the thing, Hulk Hogan almost prided himself on never losing a world title cleanly, usually taking the entire armed forces of a country to keep his shoulders on the mat properly. And yet, despite his character failings both in and out of the ring, there was one screwy finish that was actually brilliant. Here, Hogan was defending against Andre the Giant in a rematch from WrestleMania 3. There would be no repeat of the body slam and no big leg dropping because evil referee Earl Hebner countered the pin for Andre despite the fact that Hogan's shoulders were blatantly off the mat. So there we have it. Hulk Hogan lost and we can all move on. Wait a minute, what the fresh hell is going on here? Well, it transpired that Andre's manager, Ted DiBiase, had bribed Hebner to screw Hogan out of the title. Earl's identical twin brother Dave was supposed to be the referee, but he had been locked in a closet backstage. And no, you didn't mishear me, that's actually what happened, and the title was vacated in the process. It was so odd that it became an instant classic, offering Andre a massive heel boost and Hogan the ability to go off and film the classic that was No Holds Barred. And there we go, those were 8 controversial WWE finishes that actually worked. I hope that you enjoyed that, my friends, and please let me know about what else you would have included on this list, because who knows, I might do a commenter's edition of this further down the line. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you are well, my friend, and I also hope that you are treating yourself fairly, both mentally and physically. It can be be incredibly difficult as we slide into the end of the year when things start getting colder and darker, that doesn't mean that you don't deserve love, happiness, and success. We all do. You are not alone, and it is okay to ask for help if you need it. There is no shame in that. As always, I've been Jules. You can follow me at RetroJ over on Twitter. As always, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.